Hey y'all, and welcome to Stivers Homestead. I'm Zach, and it's been a crazy spring. Meaning the garden has taken many repetitive hits this year, but we are officially going to do our first garden walk of the season. And I like calling them garden walks rather than tours, because during this what you can expect is you are going to see chaos, you're going to see good, you're going to see ugly, you're going to see bad. However, it's not just a tour of the garden. I like to kind of act like we're walking together. We're talking about anything that's going on while we're looking at the garden. So buckle up, let's do this thing. So when people do garden walks, garden tours, we usually try to do our best to make it look pretty good. Like we try to do the weeding, we try to make sure everything's maintained and mowed and all that good stuff. That way that you're seeing a pretty and nice garden. Well, we've had tornadoes, we've had rain, we've had wind, we've had hail. It's rained. Right now we're getting a break. You can't really tell. But it's been raining today too, and I was like, I just want to get out here and shoot this video. And it looks like maybe summer's on the way. But I kind of came to the conclusion, our channel hasn't been about looking perfect, looking pretty. It's about function, and it's about showing you what real life kind of throws at you sometimes, and us putting that on camera. So I was like, you know what? It's going to look like a little chaotic mess, but if I had to guess, your gardens might look this way too, because this has been a rough spring. But we're still growing and we're still making it happen. So let's check this out. So if you're new to the channel, this is what we call the kitchen garden that we've really, it had a huge renovation this year. It was all wooden beds. They all started rotting out. So this year we redid it and put a bunch of metal beds here. We got our green stalks. And then over there is what we call the large garden. So that's where we're growing mass production of stuff, where we have our DIY cattle pen and greenhouse. So we are going to start in the kitchen garden. So like I said, it looks like a mess. It looks like we might get a break of the rain here coming hopefully tomorrow. And so we'll be able to dry out and I'll be able to mow and weed eat. But the first thing I want to show you all is, if you remember correctly, we had all that weed tarp down that was here. And I told you I couldn't stand it. I ripped it all up. And it's nice to see that this is recovering. It's not just a big mud pit. It actually is growing all the grass back. So that's really fantastic. You know, after a couple years, this will just blend right in with our normal yard that we have. The only problem is, you see that spot? Yeah, someone likes to dig down to the dirt and get the cool spots. Both of them do, don't you? And they like getting in my pepper garden. And that pepper garden has been through it. It was one of those that got hit the hardest when that hailstorm came in. And so we had to replant some of the stuff that we were able to leave, and they're able to regroup. But these animals love the cool, wet dirt. And so we're having an issue when the plants are small, for them to not get into the beds. Now, once it seems like the plants are more established, they seem to leave it alone, but it's just getting to that point. So let's start here with my little flower bed we got going on. I've got some hollyhocks here, and you can see all the little buds on them. We've got my zinnias that y'all know I love. They're about to get their first blooms. We have calendula here, which there's one that's already bloomed out. We have some marigolds, more calendula, more zinnias, and then here's actually one Mexican sunflower, which they get really, really big. But so I'll have to trim it pretty good. It's more like a bush, really. But I just wanted this to be completely full of flowers. It's going to be really pretty because it's in front of our house. And it also will draw in the pollinators. So that's all the stuff that would do this. I love growing flowers. I think it's very important to make sure that you're doing that in your garden. Moving up to our pepper bed here, we do have a few. You can see them. There you go. Some buds that are really starting to go, so we'll be getting some fruit soon. I do have a marigold in here. I literally just replanted these three here because Dolly got in, dug a big hole, and killed everything that was in there. So I was like, well, let me try to replace it with some more. Looks like they're getting back in it because that one's down. It's just one of those things this year. They never did it last year, but here we are this year, acting crazy. When it comes to peppers, something that we haven't really ever done is like make hot sauce and stuff. So we don't grow a huge amount of peppers because we just like them for fresh eating. So we'll just grow some jalapenos, some bell peppers, probably some banana peppers, because we do like pickling banana peppers. It's like a peppercini take, but we like it better with banana peppers than pepperoncinis. So we don't grow a whole lot of those. We just kind of give one bed so we can have some fresh eating, because Wyatt, our son, absolutely loves bell peppers. So moving to one of the kitchen garden tomato beds here. So these three and that one got hit by the hailstorm. You can still see all the damage on the stem. But we let some suckers take off, and they look extremely healthy and fantastic. So we're kind of doing this little setup I have here, which is just 2 shepherd hooks, and then I've got some hay bale twine. So I'm just moving them down as needed and tying them to that. And we are trimming these. I'm not keeping it directly to one stem. But you know, maybe 2 or 3. And where we have it like this, I can spread those stems out and just tie it to the rope, and it should hold fine. We did replace 2 that are down here. So the reason they're so small is because they got a late start because the ones that were there died out. And then of course a couple marigolds, because that helps keep some bugs away from your tomatoes. And the reason we put tomatoes, just a few tomato plants right here in the kitchen garden, is because that's when it's lunchtime and you're like, I could use a tomato. Or if, say, you decided to cook some hamburgers, let me go grab a tomato real quick. I know it seems silly, but if it's here, it's a lot more likely to get grabbed rather than being way over there. All right, moving to the onion bed. I really need to get in here and cut all of these tops, because you want to cut your tops because that way they'll focus more on the bulb rather than growing out these. And especially if you see any scapes, which are those little bulbs. I think I don't have any. I've already cut them all off. But it'd be a little bulb that pops on the top here. You definitely want to make sure you're cutting your stems down. That way it'll focus on it. And all of this is actually lemon balm that we got going on right here. So I don't really want to weed eat it out, because when we had this wooden bed here, we actually did grow lemon balm. And herbs, you're really not going to get rid of them. So we're just kind of letting it grow on the edge here, and now we have lemon balm. All right, my cauliflower, broccoli, and cabbage beds that we got going on here. Let's start with the good. I've got one really rock solid cauliflower going on here. My broccoli's all bolting, getting up here and bolting on me. And then all of these cauliflower, I don't know why that one did so great and these aren't, because they have the smallest of heads and some of them haven't even started growing a head. And I don't truly understand what's going on there, but it is what it is. So what we'll end up doing with this bed, I'm really just waiting on this guy. I was giving these broccoli a chance. We'll still cut them. If they're too better, we'll feed them to the animals, because that's one good thing about having animals. They'll eat all this. We'll still cut them and we'll try to save them what we can, but then we'll tear this bed out, and I'll probably plant some more green beans in it, or some cucumbers, some stuff that grows pretty fast, because we don't want a bed just wasting away during the summer. And then for the cabbage, it got beat up really bad in the hailstorm, and now these specifically, I'm gonna have to look back on my records and see which varieties they are, because the bugs love them. You can tell the difference in this variety and this variety. So these I'm actually getting good heads in, and they're growing pretty well. They're still looking all right. But I think something that I might need to do is grow a couple of these to attract the bugs, so they'll leave these alone. I know that kind of sounds crazy, but when you're gardening, when you're trying to use absolutely zero chemicals whatsoever, which we do here, we don't use any kind of chemicals on our plants. Sometimes you got to sacrifice some to save the others. So if I know that the bugs love these more and that'll leave those alone, then that is a way to garden. That is a technique that you can do by planting something that you know that the bugs are going to come no matter what. But if they like that better, make that the decoy so your good ones can grow. Over here, this was the miscellaneous bed. It had a lot of lettuces in it, which we've cut them all off, and they're pretty much done for. It's getting a little too warm around here for that. We do have a few broccoli in here. This one's kind of holding. I might need to harvest this one soon because it'll probably bolt. Hey, a small broccoli is better than no broccoli, right? I've also got a really small one growing right there, and we still have some kale here that is still tasting really good, so we're just letting it continue to grow because we eat kale a lot. This is probably one of the best beds. However, the cilantro is starting to look like it's getting ready to hit that bolt stage. But the cilantro is doing great, and this dill is doing absolutely fantastic. Now, they got beat up really hard in the hailstorm too. However, being an herb, you just cut all the bad off, and it grows back really good. But we've been using a lot of cilantro because we love cooking Mexican food, and we use a lot of cilantro in that. And then dill, that'll just keep going for the summer with a lot of preserving that we do. And this bed is another one that had a lot of hate to it. Animals and chickens really loved getting in it. But this is bush beans that we have in here. So I've had to replant this thing twice now. And so I decided to put these hoops over it and put this the bug netting over it, so that'll keep them out until these plants get established. But they are looking really healthy and really good in here. You can see the ones that survived and the ones I had to replant, the size difference that we got here. And here's Mr. Comfrey. Y'all know we love our comfrey around here. Last time y'all saw this, I had cut it down all the way to the bare bones. There was not a leaf left on it, and you can see how healthy they grow back. It's actually starting to creep out of this and move out over here. But I love this comfrey. It's so fantastic. And all of ours is dried, and I'll be making more comfrey salve. And speaking of the comfrey salve, we do have plenty of that in stock, including calendula salve, and we just put in stock a bunch of tinctures back in stock, like hibiscus, chickweed, rosemary, lemongrass, There's a bunch of them. So if you're new around here, we do have our little store at StiversHomestead.com. Make sure to go check that out. We have a lot of good stuff that we grow here, that we make medicine out of, teas out of, salves out of, etc. And we try to just give you a little taste of herbal medicine, and also try to teach you how to do it yourself. So before we move to the big garden, I want to touch on the green stalks that we have here. And this one, I'm just really experimenting. So this one is traditional, what we normally do with a green stalk. It'll have herbs in it, it'll have flowers in it. It's just more pretty. Like we got some basil, some rosemary, all kinds of different flowers in here. And that's what we normally like to do with them. Also got some mint here. But this year, which very much, this is not groundbreaking news. This is something that is very much what green stalk's all about, and that is actually growing food in it, doing vertical gardening. I was actually heard of a new thing that's happening. It's called foodscaping. Have y'all heard of this? It's where we're taking our pretty landscapes that we have around our house and we're growing food with them. So with your shrubberies, you can put, fruit bushes, you can put herbs, you can put like Swiss chard, kale, and we're using food as our prettiness around our landscaping, called foodscaping. So in a way, that's what this is, because you can use your green stalks to grow plenty of food. So we have green beans in here. We have cucumbers in here. I've got peppers up in here. We've got some Mexican sunflowers for some color. But I was like, let's just try it. Let's just see what happens with growing some good food in here and not just the pretty. That's something we got to remember. We act like we don't have the space, and some of us don't because we live in apartments. But that's where green stalk and vertical gardening can really work if you have a balcony. But a lot of us do seem to have homes, and we'll say, well, we don't have really enough space to grow food. But I guarantee you're doing something around your house, landscaping wise, to be pretty. So let's start putting food in there and call it foodscaping. All right, let's head to this jungle of a large garden. Hi, Rusty. You're not keeping those chickens out. Look. Yeah, that's your job. It is your one and only job, buddy. Oh, I know it. I know it. Okay, so I'm not going to lie to you. This is still very much a work in progress. I'm getting in here when I can. That bed's weeds. This bed's tomatoes. This bed's halfway done, which we'll talk about it. That one is done, and those two are still full of weeds. Oh, and the greenhouse, I have a single walking path to get in there, and everything else is weeds. I'm showing you all this, and it's not because of lazy. That is no issues here whatsoever. We like to get out here and do as much as we can when we can. But there are so many responsibilities in life. I realize, let's not tackle every weed all at once, because I need to get some stuff in the ground. Let's weed what we can, get some stuff in the ground. Weed what we can, get some stuff in the ground. We just got done with all of last week was 100% dance for Raylan. It was rolling into recital week, and we had literally every single day we were at dance for most of the day and the weekend. So it's one of those things where you gotta prioritize your children, you gotta prioritize your marriage or your relationship, whatever you may have. You gotta prioritize yourself and your other work that you gotta do, and then get yourself out here. And so what I'm realizing is when we built this, I had a lot more time, even though I was working. That's the crazy thing. But we had littles, and we weren't doing as much. We weren't as active when it came to having to leave the property all the time. And I'm thinking that right now, at this current state, this garden size is a little too big, because I'm not sure what it looks like on camera, but each one of these beds are over 100 foot long, and there's 2, 4, 6 of them. So that's over 600 foot lengthwise of garden beds, plus the kitchen garden. So if a few of them might have to have some weeds in it, but the rest of them are thriving and growing food, and it's enough for us to handle to get the weeds out, then we're doing all right. Because my whole goal this year was I'm growing food this year. I'm not taking it off like I did last year. So whatever that looks like is what's happening. So really only the next big project is tackling these 2 beds, because I love growing a pumpkin patch. It used to be one of my absolutely favorite things, mine and Jen's favorite things to do with the kids was take them to a pumpkin patch. We went a few years ago to one around here, and the price to get in, we had to, that was a first, we had to pay to even get into the place. And then the price of pumpkins and the price of all the activities, I was like, holy cow, this has taken off to another level and isn't what it used to be. So as much as we like supporting local, that has gotten really nuts. So we decided we grow our own pumpkin patches now and let the kids come out and pick them. So I really need to get these cleaned out very soon, because I've got all kinds of pumpkins in the greenhouse that need to go into this ground. And basically what we do is we just let it take over all of this. So all this area will have pumpkin vines everywhere, and it's just really pretty pumpkins, and it's awesome when it comes about August, September to harvest them and get them all on the porch. But enough of that, let's actually talk about what's in the ground right now. So as you can see here, we've recently weeded this, and I've got a bunch of little bitty weeds that are starting to pop back up. So thankfully, when it's like that, it's very easy. You just got to disturb the ground. You know, that's what you're shooting for, and that gets rid of them for that round. But we have all bush beans right here. And then I've got some peppers that were left out during that hailstorm, and this is what they look like right now, which doesn't look great, but they have seemed to recover pretty well. This is empty. I'm still got to plant it, but over here on this cattle panel, we have honeydew and cantaloupe, and then another Mexican sunflower. So that was this side. On this side, I still need to weed the rest of this one, but we did get the first half done. So on this cattle panel, I've got cucumbers growing from this way up and this way up, and they are all the national pickling cucumbers. However, on this side, we have Hass. On this side, we have survival garden seeds. So just kind of seeing what happens. The reason that you see cucumbers on both sides of these cattle panels is just from my experience. Cucumbers don't grow so tall. Trying to do that on camera and look was weird. They don't grow all the way over to meet the other side throughout the year. They seem to make it about halfway. That's about as far as the cucumbers get. So that gives me the opportunity to plant more cucumbers on this side too. On these two cattle panels, so we have two here, we have all Kentucky, or no, they're pole beans. I forgot. Those are Hass's pole beans, the green blaze. Yeah, and these are Kentucky pole beans, right? Okay, I had to get my mind straight there. But you can see we really rapid packed them. Basically on every single notch of the cattle panel, there's another plant, and they're starting to attach. Now these will grow really fast, so they will go mostly all the way over. So that's why I did not plant any on this side. And then over here, we have 6. It is squash and zucchini. And even that's more than we need. We just really like to eat it pretty much fresh, and we're usually over zucchini and squash pretty early. It's good, and we have so much freeze-dried that it's insane, because y'all know how squash and zucchini get. They're very prolific. You get a bunch of them, and you don't need very many plants to achieve what you're trying to do. And then lastly, over here again, one little bitty Mexican sunflower. But that one Mexican sunflower will basically take up this whole bed. And so what I'm doing is I'm growing a lot of flower, especially the Mexican sunflowers in spots, just to take up space. So we won't have to weed so badly, because that will win and take over. All right, now moving to the bed that probably looks the absolute best because it's been in the longest, but it did have to recover from that massive hailstorm we have. So there's a few tomatoes that we had to replace. Some of them, most of them, have just gotten better, and they look better. So we have all kinds of varieties growing in here, of course, with some marigolds to help with pests. But it's all the way from cherries, but it's all kinds of different heirlooms. One thing that we like to do is we will basically cut off all the branches that get to basically that first one or second one, because you don't want them laying in the dirt. And I know a lot of people put coverage down, like straw or different stuff like that. We don't like that technique, just because it has so much seed in straw and in hay and stuff like that, that you're actually growing, in my opinion, more weeds than you would if you were just picking it out by hand with what's on the dirt. But in return of that, we do get splashback. So the splashback, that dirt that hangs out on your leaves and stuff, that can cause blight, that can cause other diseases. So we just trim the stem up a little bit more and just sacrifice those, allowing it to stay off the ground. And that's pretty much just the goal of that. But they are looking very healthy. I'm starting to see some flowers come in, so we should be starting to get some baby tomatoes in the very near future, and that is super exciting. So one of the verdicts that I've already gotten from this tomato bed, and really all the gardening that we've done, we got really hot really early. Our zone has changed. Our last frost date has changed when it comes to the Old Farmer's Almanac. We're truly more of a southern state than right there in the middle. We're in southeastern Kentucky, if you're unaware, in the Appalachian Mountains. We planted early, and that wasn't a wrong decision because we didn't get a frost. However, our weather is more like Tornado Alley than it's ever been before. And I heard it's basically officially changed. Western Kentucky and more portions of Kentucky and West Tennessee are more part of Tornado Alley than, say, they were in previous years. So for us over here on southeastern Kentucky, we're getting the residuals of that. And then, unfortunately, some tornadoes too. So with all that being said, I'm happy that most of them survived. the weather that we had. However, was it a good idea to plant early? I don't know. Not really, because they had to go through so much wind, so much hail, so much rain, which I'm sure you noticed on some of these plants. They're kind of like lime green. It's too much water. They're getting too much water, and it's causing them to get that lime green, and they really just want to dry out a little. However, I will say too much water is better than no water at all. So I will be grateful in that behalf, but it would be nice if we could just get some hot, get some dry, and get a little bit more of an occasional rain, because the garden has had it this year. And I'm not gonna lie, there's been a few times I have been like, screw it. We tried, I am not gonna do this. This is crazy. It is taking so much energy and effort. They could be doing something else just for them to die because of the storms. And that's the worst as a gardener, when you're actually doing a decent job at growing your plants and then Mother Nature comes and just destroys everything. It takes a blow to your heart, because it feels like starting over isn't worth it, but growing your own food will always be worth it. We get that for about 5 minutes, and now we've got this coming. I had to go to town, and it was sunny here, and 2 minutes really that way to our downtown, because they're a pretty small little area to drive through, pouring down rain. I was like, please don't come to us. We don't need it. I need to mow. I need to weed eat. I want to get in the garden and not get ate up by mosquitoes, because, man, when you get this kind of rain, it is awful, because everything's wet, and that attracts all the bugs, and then the sun comes out, and you just get ate alive, and it is wild. I don't know how much is shown in the background, but see the posse that follows me everywhere? Willow Dean's right over there. Yeah, just everywhere I go. So that's our garden right now. It's not a whole lot, but it is a lot. And it's not a whole lot of different varieties of things, but it's a lot of each one that we're growing. And that's what we kind of try to do. We don't try to grow a whole bunch of different things. We try to grow a lot of some things. And then that way, the next year, we won't have to grow as many of, say, tomatoes and green beans, and we can focus more on more potatoes, sweet potatoes, okra, stuff like that. And it's really just whatever your goal is from your garden. Are you just growing it to eat fresh because you don't want to buy the stuff from the store? Are you looking to try to preserve back for a year's worth, 6 months worth, 2 years worth? And that's how you need to make sure that you're garden planning and what you're doing there. We try to grow enough of whatever we're growing to really kind of last us about 2 years. So, and green beans and tomatoes are a huge piece of that. So we will make sure when we're getting low, that's going to be the big one for us. We're going to grow a lot of green beans and tomatoes. We're going to can it all, and that way we'll have it in our storage for about 2 years. Now with the freeze dryer, it does allow us to do a lot more, because we don't just have to can. We can use the freeze dryer too. But the kitchen garden's more for the grab and go, and the big garden's more for the big preserving that we're going to do. And I know, and I feel you all, if your gardens are looking like us, our channel seems to prompt in this area, the Appalachian Mountain area, Knoxville, London, all that different stuff. I know we reached several other areas, but I know a vast majority of people that are watching, you've been through it. Y'all have been going through it with this weather, just like we have. Some worse than others, like with London and the tornado going through there, which is still so devastating. It's hard, and it's so easy to just give up and not do it this year. But I promise you, if you can get a few plants out there, replant them if they've gone down, grow something, that satisfaction of having something growing and being able to put on your counter to eat fresh that you grew will always be worth it. I know it doesn't necessarily maybe look like it right now, but it will once you grab it, because it's always a bummer when we drive around, and like last year when we didn't garden and I would see everybody's like nice, lush gardens, I'd kind of feel crappy. Like I'd feel bad that we aren't doing it. And that I wish we would have, and not have just taken the year off. But that was beneficial. That was the past. Now we're talking about now. Let's not have that happen again this year. So if you don't have a garden, or if your garden got destroyed, figure out a way to plant something, because we do have a long growing year. There's still plenty of time to get something in the ground right now, even if it's just by seed. And I promise you, all the rewards will pay off once you pick that fruit off that plant. It makes it so worth it. But y'all, I am starting to get rained on, and so it sounds like it's time for me to shut this video down. Thankfully, the rain held off so we could get through the whole garden and have a little chat, a little walk with you. I hope it did feel like you were walking beside me when we were doing that, because that's always the goal of this. But y'all, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button for us. We love y'all. Until the next one. Bye. That was a close one. Go, Rooster.